These two brothers are infamous for being brothers who were at each other's throats. But even though they were supposed to be loyal siblings, they weren't necessarily best friends either. Cain was an innovator, and Abel was a... They both did their own thing. So why would God choose one twin over the other? Well, here's where we learn about the difference between these brothers. Abel kept things simple. He just gave God the firstborn animals from his flock. But Cain wanted more. Cain wanted to do things right, or at least differently. But despite their differences, they should have looked out for each other. In fact, he ran away so far that God had to yell pretty loud to get his attention. But before he did that, God wanted to teach Cain a lesson, so he gave Cain another chance to explain himself. And this time he was a little more vague, asking Cain if he was responsible for the sound of blood crying out from the ground. He asked Cain what he had done and why he had done it. Now he would have to live the rest of his life knowing what he had done. And the sad thing was, he couldn't hide from that fact. Every day he would walk outside and be reminded of what he had done. It made him a threat to society, a walking time bomb who could snap at any moment, so no one would want to associate with him, which meant he would spend the rest of his days alone. And not only that, but he would also have to live with the guilt. The ground itself would bleed every time he stepped on it. No one would be able to comfort him unless they had experienced that kind of jealousy. And let's face it, that's probably not many people. Even his wife would be afraid to ask. And no matter what he tried, no matter how hard he worked or how far he ran, that wound would always be there, reminding him of what he had done. Was it because he was jealous? Did he really think he could get away with this? And honestly, none of those questions mattered. Yes, he would have children, but no matter how much they loved him, he would never be able to love them back. How could he? His own brother had died. Don't let it control you, or worse, hurt others. Because once you cross that line, there's no turning back. You will have taken away something precious, something that no one can ever give back. How could he look into his children's eyes and promise to love them unconditionally when he could not even love himself? In fact, in Genesis chapter 4, we see that Abel had something very important to offer his brother, something that could change his life. Abel offered some of his firstborn lambs to God, and this was the kind of offering that would change your status forever. He was cursed to wander the earth, to drift from place to place, to roam the land and survive the best way he could. Don't be jealous of others. Don't compare yourself to them. And most importantly, don't be consumed by your own anger. He was on his own now, and there was no one to blame but himself. Maybe God already knew the answer and was just going through the motions. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with others and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time. We know that God cursed him, but he didn't say what exactly that meant. Did he put a hex on him? Did he make his life miserable? Did he ban him from ever entering the Garden of Eden again? We don't know. Or maybe he was giving his son a last chance to confess, hoping that he would come clean and show some remorse. Either way, it didn't work. Cain played dumb and denied having anything to do with Abel's death. If accepted by God, it was like getting a golden ticket, a VIP pass to heaven. And it seems like Cain knew how special these offerings were, because he got really mad when God preferred Abel's gift over his own. And at first, it didn't seem like there was any reason for jealousy. After all, they were twins. They were identical. And when he did, the people there wouldn't want him around. They would fear him. They would shun him. And this wasn't just because he had killed his brother. It was because he had killed his own brother. Cain decided to build a little cottage, but instead of using sticks and stones or wood and nails, he built it with bricks. At least that's what it sounds like. The Hebrew word for bricks can also mean layers or a kind of mortar. So maybe he used a combination of materials. Either way, this was a pretty impressive feat for someone living back then. The world hadn't had enough time to develop its justice system yet. So if you killed someone, there was nothing to stop you from killing others. And it seemed like Cain knew that too. After all, he had already been warned that if he did something like this, he would be punished severely. But no matter how great his cottage was, God rejected his offering. So maybe God didn't care about architecture or building techniques, or maybe he expected more from his son. Whatever the case, Cain wasn't happy with this news. In fact, He was so angry that God didn't accept his offering that he did something crazy. He murdered his brother Abel. This was a big deal, because murder is always bad, but especially back then. And since nobody was going to step in and save him, he ran away as fast as he could. Cain had already broken the law, and no matter what his excuse was, God was going to punish him. Now, depending on how literal you are, this could have been a rhetorical question. So God left him with no other choice but to punish him severely, just like he had said he would. And that punishment wasn't exactly clear, but what we do know is that God took something away from Cain. He took away his innocence, and even though he ran as far as he could, eventually he would have to come back home. I mean, come on, who kills their own brother? No one would understand what he was going through, unless they had been in his shoes. And that brings us to another consequence that no one could take away from him: his family. There was a huge hole inside of him, a gaping wound that would never heal. And that's why in the end, the punishment fit the crime. And that's why the story of Cain and Abel is such a powerful reminder to us today. If you feel jealous, find a healthy way to express that feeling. And that's all for me today. Thanks for watching.